Hello church, it's Pastor Mary and welcome to today's self-care video. I thought I would share one of my favorite self-care practices with you. Before we begin, I want to explain to you what self-care is and how it differs from self-soothing. Often we use these terms interchangeably. Both are necessary for good health and both require community and structural care for optimum wellness. Sometimes one practice can fulfill all types of care. For instance, going to your worship service at your church is a community care practice, but it does maintain self-care and it can be self-soothing. We will save community care for a different video. The main difference between self-soothing and self-care is the purpose of the behavior. Self-soothing practices provide immediate comfort and escape from the difficult or stressful circumstance you're in. Still, they don't offer long-term benefits, and if they aren't partnered with self-care and community care, they can be damaging in the long term. Self-soothing practices look like going to the salon, reading a favorite novel when you should be working, binge watching a favorite TV show, or even stress eating. Self-care practices, though, promote a sense of purpose, balance, and psychosocial, emotional, physical, spiritual health. Self-care practices look like maintaining spiritual practices, exercising, keeping a nutritious diet, setting and keeping boundaries, taking medication, and seeing your doctor and therapist, among other things. Every Wednesday, we cover a spiritual practice during our weekly prayer video. If you would like to explore that aspect of self-care, I encourage you to check them out. Now, I neglected my own self-care for a long time. Growing up, I never knew about it. In fact, the first time I can even remember hearing the term self-care was when I was in college. The idea that we need to make ourselves a priority seemed selfish to me. And while I understood taking care of myself was important, prioritizing myself felt vain. It wasn't until I was in seminary that I began to realize self-care is not selfish. If I expect to love and care for others, I need to be in good health. So I started making changes. I found an exercise routine I enjoyed and looked forward to. I ate a vegetarian diet. I kept up with friends and made sure to get enough sleep. Then I began full-time ministry. My first 5 years were very difficult. I was a city girl living in a very rural community with little to no access to the tools I used to maintain a healthy lifestyle before moving there. I didn't know anyone where I lived, and I was hundreds and in some cases thousands of miles from my friends and family. My work was stressful. I'm an introvert in a caretaking profession. I love my ministry and my parishioners. I really do, but the constant social interaction of pastoring in a small town leaves me pretty drained at the end of the day. Culture shock, loneliness, stress, and the long work hours of being a pastor weighed on me. Over time, I fell back into poor habits. I stopped being intentional about my diet, exercising, keeping up with my friends, or keeping healthy boundaries. As each year passed, I micromanaged my church's more, I slept less, and I gained over 100 pounds. I was completely consumed by my work. I was unhappy and anxious all the time. My relationship with my parishioners and my husband were pretty strained. Something had to change. I found a hairstylist outside my community so I could put my pastor title away when I went. I started cooking from scratch again rather than eating convenience foods. I learned to crochet and got a meditative coloring book. I started going on weekly dates with Andrew. I bought a new mattress and pillow so I could sleep more comfortably at night. I started being honest with my psychiatrist about what was going on and made changes to my medication to better adjust to my circumstances. After a while, I began incorporating more practices. Last year, I switched to a plant-based diet and started exercising again. I joined a women's only accountability group made mostly from other clergy. I reconnected with old friends and set boundaries on my workload at church. These things have made me a better wife, foster mother, pastor, friend, and individual. Recently, I've been incorporating a new self-care routine. I started a full body skincare regimen that I want to share with you tonight. You see, I have dehydrated and itchy skin. It cracks and bleeds year-round and is extremely sensitive to the majority of skincare products on the market. I've never been diagnosed with eczema or psoriasis, but my skincare issues are somewhat similar to those. Most of my life, I figured this was just something I would have to deal with. But now that I'm 32, my skin is getting worse. It's starting to age prematurely from the stress and dryness, and it's getting sore more frequently and becoming more sensitive to more products. So I started evaluating the products we've been using. I noticed that they were providing me immediate relief, but they weren't improving my skin's overall health. In fact, many of the products were actually making my skin worse over time. And so I would have to use more product for less of an effective result. I discovered after doing some research and testing different products that what my skin was actually reacting to was the synthetic materials that were in the skincare products, particularly the chemicals. Even the most gentle and highly rated products and companies were damaging my skin. So I decided to switch to all-natural skincare. Before I decided what skin products to try, I sat down with my values as an individual and a consumer. You see, my faith plays an enormous role in the purchases that I make. In Methodist traditions like mine, we have a doctrine called the path to perfection. The idea is that while we can't free ourselves from sin, we can consciously choose the patterns and methods of faithfulness in all aspects of our lives that help us love God and one another better. That's why we're called Methodists. Those patterns and methods boil down to 3 simple rules. Number 1, do no harm. Number 2, do good. And number 3, stay in love with God. When we use these rules, we must memorize them in this order and incorporate them into our daily lives. The order matters because if we do good in one aspect of life while causing harm to others or ourselves, the good isn't actually good. And if we're causing harm and lapsing in our good, then we can't really say that we're staying in love with God. As an example, let's say that my cat Stella ran away, which she's been prone to do, and she got caught in my neighbor's tree. She couldn't get down. I want to do good for my cat and get her out of the tree and take her home, so I cut the tree down because I can't reach the branches. The tree falls onto my neighbor's car and totals it. Now, I may have saved my cat, but I did harm to my neighbor. So I didn't really do anything good. Because I harmed my neighbor, I harmed God. God cares for my neighbor, and requires me to care for them too. Whatever you do to the least of these, you've done to me. Does that make sense? So, what do the 3 simple rules look like as a consumer? Number 1, do no harm. It's important for me to choose ethical, transparent, sustainable, and local companies as often as possible. I am working to reduce the amount of waste I produce and am trying to purchase from fair trade and B corporations as much as I can, while still supporting local businesses. I want to support companies that provide suitable futures and equal opportunities for their employees and host communities. So the questions I ask myself when looking for new products is, how do these companies treat women, people of color, and LGBTQ individuals, both as employees and customers? How do they relate to the people in their area? What kinds of benefits do they offer their staff? Are they environmentally sustainable? If I support companies that don't care about these things, then I'm not helping the world around me. I'm actually contributing to the global harm. So I need to choose a lifestyle and purchase products that promote human, communal, and ecological welfare. Now, I can't do this perfectly. I don't have the financial means to make my purchases 100% ethical. It can be pretty expensive sometimes. But even if I did have that kind of financial stability, there is no single company that will meet all of these needs and be able to offer me the best products that my skin needs. But the point is to try and rearrange my life and be more intentional about my purchases. Because the more intentional I am about my purchases, the more I create a world that promotes fullness of life for everyone. Number 2, do good. What's good for my skin and my body? I've been experimenting with lots of different products over the years, especially since shelter in place began. A while back, our house began transitioning to natural cleaning and laundry products. The main reason we've been switching is for our skin health. Our skin was not only sensitive to products for our bodies, like soaps and shampoos, but it was also sensitive to products for our home. If our skin was interacting with it, our skin was reacting to it. So we needed to make changes. We also wanted to make sure we had products that were safe for the children who lived with us. Most of the time, when kids moved into a foster home, the foster parents know next to nothing about them, including whether or not they are allergic to anything. So we decided that for our home, the best thing we could do was to use safe, hypoallergenic products all the time. To reduce waste, we are transitioning to solid and natural soaps, lotions, detergents, and cleaning products. The only place in our home that continues to use liquid soap is the kitchen. And even there, we're using a natural hypoallergenic cleanser. For my hands and body, goat's milk soap is best. The makeup of the soap is gentle and it's healing the overall condition of my skin. I have 3 bars here that are all goat's milk soaps. This one I just got today. It was on back order when I purchased it a month ago. And so I got these 2 soaps to test while I was waiting for it. It seems to me, between the 3 of these, that they're all working pretty much the same. They're equally effective and they're good for my skin. I also use a goat's milk lotion every time I wash my hands. The goat's milk lotion only comes in these big bottles from the company. So I've been experimenting with a solid lotion bar that can go with me in my purse. This one is just a test size, and it's actually a baby lotion. But I figured, if it's gentle enough for a baby, it should work for me. And I actually really love this solid lotion. It works very well, but it does melt when it's hot out. So I have to keep it in the fridge the majority of the time. If I do want to take it somewhere with me, I put it in a little tin in case it melts in my purse. For my underarms, I need a natural deodorant that is paraben-free, aluminum-free, and baking soda-free. Switching over to natural deodorants that have none of those chemicals and no baking soda has healed my underarms really beautifully. Now, a note on natural deodorants though, because I have been through this on more than one occasion, transitioning from a traditional deodorant to a natural one can cause a rash. That's not actually because of the ingredients in the natural product. That's because your skin is detoxing the chemicals that have built up from the traditional deodorant. The best way to avoid that rash is to step down to a hybrid deodorant that still has some chemicals, but not everything that a traditional one has, especially if you can find one that's aluminum free, but maybe has the other stuff in it, before switching directly to one of the natural products. But if a rash does occur even through step down, and that did happen to me, you just want to discontinue your use until the rash heals, and then you can try again. It might take a couple of tries for your skin to completely clean out all of that gunk. It took me multiple tries with lots of different deodorants over several years to find something that did an excellent job and also didn't cause me pain. Now, for my face, the goat's milk soap was too harsh, so I found this little soap-free cleansing balm. Rather than use soap to wash my face, this balm uses an oil cleanser as its activating agent. I've been using it for about 3 months now, and it's the best makeup remover and face cleanser I have ever had. I also use an alcohol-free lip balm, and it's really been a gift to my lips. But the most significant game changers for me have actually been these two products. The first is a foot cream. The company calls it a cream, but if you look at it, you'll see it's really just a balm. And then there's my favorite product, the almond oil. I stumbled upon almond oil by accident. I received a sample size of a luxury body oil blend a while back as a gift and had been using it twice a day for a little over a month. It was the best product I have ever used. My skin was firm and supple. It was healthy. It was glowing. My complexion was even, and I wasn't feeling tight or itchy on my face or my hands. Even the dark circles under my eyes were starting to disappear, and the premature fine lines around the sides of my mouth and under my eyes and across my forehead were starting to soften and improve. It was really a wonderful product, but there was a problem. The full-size product was beyond anything that we could ever dream to afford. Now, at that time, my incredible husband did a little research on what we needed to make an alternative that we could afford. And it turns out all you need is a bottle of 100% sweet almond skin oil. Now, you can get these little bottles just about anywhere, And they last you about a month and cost around $5 depending on what store you purchase them from. You can also get these larger bottles and they're affordable as well. This bottle only cost me $13. Now the oil comes unscented, but you can scent it yourself using essential oils. I've tested several different essential oils to see what kind of scent they produced. And I want to share my favorite recipe with you today. Pour almond oil into a 2-ounce bottle. This one is actually 2.4 ounces, but we don't fill it up all the way, so it has some room to shake. Add 3 drops of vanilla essential oil, 4 drops of orange essential oil, and 5 drops of rose absolute. You want to shake it up and then check it to see if you want any adjustments to the scent. The scent comes out sweet and summery, but it's not overpowering, which is what we found with the other essential oils where they were just overwhelming when you smelled them. A tiny bit goes a long way with this oil. I only use 2 teaspoons for my entire body. So here's what my routine looks like. Each night and morning, I will do my regular face care routine. Now I only wash my face once per day, and sometimes I skip a day because my skin is so incredibly dry that it helps it to have a rest from the water. Now, if you are showering, you want to do that first and then do your face care routine if you have one. Once I'm done with all of that, I take the oil and massage it into my skin over my entire body using small circles. Next, I take the foot cream, which is really not just for feet, and I rub it into all of those pesky spots on my body that get particularly dry, the ones that we all deal with. My hands, my feet, my elbows, and my nose in particular, because of the amount of exposure to the air it gets quite dry. And so I put some there too. And finally, I put on my lip balm. Once everything is all rubbed in, I take out a pair of fuzzy socks that you use for pedicures and put on one of my onesies, and I just marinate like a steak or a chicken. Onesies are really fuzzy on the inside, just like those fuzzy socks I like to wear. So they have a similar effect as the socks have on my feet. Now I let myself marinate for an hour so everything has a chance to soak into my skin. And after an hour, if I still have some spots on my body that are dry, which is pretty rare these days, but sometimes I get a little dry over here. I've got a tattoo on my rib cage here, and sometimes that's still kind of dry after all of this, or sometimes I get dry around my lips or my forehead. I will put lotion on that, and I make sure to use the goat's milk lotion. And that helps relieve the itch and the tightness that I might be experiencing. And then I get ready for the day, or I get ready for bed. Now this is a time-consuming routine, so be sure to give yourself plenty of time. Number 3, stay in love with God. So, how in the world does this routine help me serve God better? You know, feeling my best and feeling comfortable in my own skin, literally, is a big deal for me. It's hard to focus on my ministry when I'm distracted by feeling sore, itchy, or uncomfortable. And my skin was also hurting my confidence. I never looked my best, and I don't really like to wear a lot of makeup because I don't like the feel of it, and so I just looked rough all the time. And when I'm not confident in myself, it's hard for me to lead others well. Finally, this is a refreshing practice for me. Social interaction drains my energy. And to recharge my batteries, I need private, quiet me time. And there's really no better way to gain some me time than forcing myself to marinate in oils for an hour twice a day, wearing a super comfy onesie. Ending and beginning my day this way ensures I'm ready to give my best to my family, my friends, and my ministry. Social distancing is really a perfect time to experiment with your self-care. Take some time to ask yourself what's important to you and how to put those values into practice. Find habits that ease your anxiety, lift your spirit, create balance, and help make yourself a priority. And remember, don't try and overhaul everything all at once. That will be incredibly overwhelming and you can't sustain it. Self-care is a journey. It's not a destination. So begin by finding one thing that works for you that you can sustain. Then, when you're ready, add a second, and then a third, and then a fourth, and a fifth, and so on. I hope this video is helpful for you. I hope I've inspired you to find at least one self-care practice that works for you. You will thank yourself for it later.